Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 2 of the Back to School webinar. Yes, we are still on this journey. In fact, we are getting to the real hot issues that we are going to be tackling during this entire webinar. It is going to be a session that would definitely not leave you complacent in any way as you accompany your child during this academic year. So far, we have touched on pertinent topics. We've looked at your role as a parent, how you are the most important ingredient for your child's academic success, and we have also looked at what to consider when choosing the school. Today is day 2, and we are going to be looking at a very pertinent topic that is near and dear to my heart because I truly believe that no success is worth it if integrity, if moral values are compromised in the process. I strongly believe that it's very important that we don't teach our children to win at all costs if that cost will be their character or their integrity or their values. So today we're going to have our guest speaker come on to talk to us about how to nurture academic excellence without compromising integrity. Yes, integrity is something that we see it's gradually being washed away, it's gradually being compromised, not gradually even, it's becoming so overt, it's becoming so normal, it's becoming part of the culture of certain schools that prioritize the excellence of the school over the moral integrity of the children. I've heard so many stories from parents about how their kids were either asked, to help their mates. Some kids were bullied for not wanting to share answers. There are so many versions of this story. Let me hear from you, right? Where are you tuning in from? Are you coming in from the Back to School forum, or are you coming in from the elite community of the DR 365 tribe, the 1-year program? Wherever you're tuning in from, let me hear you in the comments. Remember that during this session, you should ask questions, all right? Let's share our perspectives, share your experiences. All of this helps make the session rich. It helps us get the most out of it. Now, our guest is here as an administrator, an educator. She is in the system, all right? So this is a topic that she's very well positioned. She's seasoned to share with us on this particular topic because she is in the system. She has seen both sides as an educator, but also as an administrator. So she understands the breadth of this particular issue. And she's going to be sharing with us on exactly what it is that we as parents have as a role when it comes to challenging the system. All right. We have the power to place demands. Yesterday I said that when parents are ignorant, when parents are complacent, when parents don't take up their role, we fail to challenge the system to deliver the excellence that our children deserve. When parents don't understand the power that they have, when parents don't take up their role, take up their place, the system is just, they just do anyhow they want. They become complacent. There is no quest for innovation. There's no quest for excellence because parents are not placing any demands. But when parents rise up, right, when you know what it is that your role is, when you are equipped, when you have knowledge, when you ask the right questions, the school system is challenged to stay in pursuit of excellence. Certain things will not be overlooked. There is so much that our kids are not getting. The resources that is due to them is sometimes not reaching them because the parents are not involved. The parents don't, they don't take interest in these things. They don't ask the right questions. All you focus on is how your money was spent. Meanwhile, there is a lot more that you need to take interest in. So our guest is here. And without wasting any more time, I'm going to invite her here and we're going to hear from her in a moment. But meanwhile, let me hear from you in the comments. Where are you tuning in from? If you're here, hit the comment section. Let me know where you're tuning in from, whether it's the Back to School forum or it's the DR tribe, and let someone else know that we are live. Please go back to the WhatsApp platform and just type there we are live. Let someone else join you. Invite someone else to be here tonight. The more we are in number, the better or the more or the greater our impact is going to be on the system. All right, that's why we need to be equipped as possible. It is not a job for one person. It's not a job for, no matter how passionate I may be about this, we need to put our hands together to demand a change or to create a change in the system. So I'm hoping that after tonight, you will be as passionate as I am about this particular issue, and you will stop being a silent bystander. Hello, Mama Vidzem, you're welcome. So I see we have a few of us here already. We're going to go like right into it. You're welcome, Madam Veronica. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Jane.
All right.
Thank
So she's
you
going
for
to,
that wonderful opportunity.
you're welcome.
I cannot
She's
take
going
this opportunity for granted. Can you hear me,
Great.
please?
Yes, we can hear you very well. So tell us a little bit
Okay.
about yourself while I put up your slides.
Okay. I am Madame Bewamba Veronica Beze, a teacher administrator by profession and a United Nations Global Schools Advocate alumni. I have been teaching for the past 15 years, and by the grace of God, I have been parenting for 13 years now. So I am not only sitting here to talk about the role of a teacher and administrator, I will also be talking like a parent. So during this session, we are going to explore how we can nurture academic excellence in our children while challenging the system to uphold integrity. We are in a world where education is evolving and academic excellence remains the core goal for students, for teachers, for parents, and every other stakeholder. And achieving this academic excellence must be rooted in integrity. We don't just need to sit and wait for best scores, high grades, and all of that. What are the yardsticks that were used to achieve these grades? We
Yeah.
need to look into detail how all this was achieved. Just the report card is not enough. How about a child's moral upbringing? How about the child's integrity? How about the school system? How do they function? We need to know all that. So as parents, it is our duty to know and hold a system accountable for all of that. And as a global schools advocate alumni, I have this mission to make sure that we embrace global citizenship values through quality education and holistic training of children. That is why I accepted to take this particular presentation, knowing that through it we are going to learn what we are supposed to know as parents and ameliorate in taking care of our children and in collaborating with the school system to take care of the children we entrust into their hands. So, during this session, we are going to be understanding how to nurture academic excellence and also how to encourage academic integrity without causing any chaos around the school system. So, what is academic excellence per se? What do you think? It's a question I'm asking. What do you think academic excellence is, dear parents? Let me know.
So they're
Drop
just
your
going to drop
ideas, please.
the comments.
According to you, what is academic excellence?
They're going to drop their answers in the comments. It might take a while for you to get there, so you might keep moving while the responses are coming up.
All right, okay. So, like I was saying, we don't need to focus only on the grades. Your child has gone to school, yes, you've paid fees, you're a very good parent. That is fine. But that is not enough. I know as a parent, when we pay the fees, what we expect is a pass mark, a pass grade, a promotion to the next class. All that counts, but it is not enough. What can the child demonstrate after that child has been promoted to the next class? What has the child understood? What skills have the child gained so far from what has been taught in class? We need to go into detail to see if what is reflected in the report card is actually what the child carries in the head. As parents, I think if you have been going through your children's books, you will notice that children are able to perform very excellently in some exercises, but when you put them face to face to you to carry out that particular task, they will become unable to do it. Now you begin to question yourself, how did this child manage to have this thing when actually right before me the child cannot have it? So you see that there are some criteria to follow in order to measure academic excellence. So we are going to define academic excellence as a demonstrated ability to achieve and excel in school activities. It is not only about school activities, it goes out of the school activities. If you want to grade your child as an academic excellent child or an academic excellent learner, you need to follow some criteria, like, can the child communicate effectively? Is the child able to say little things in just a short sentence? Can the child think critically? Can your child solve problems that are at their reach? Is your child able to get knowledge from class and then transform that knowledge into practical realities? If your child can do all this, then you can begin to say that you have an academic excellent child. But if your child is just the one that is able to read and write and pass and ends there, then there is something wrong. A child who is an academic excellent child should be able to distinguish between writing on their own and earning the marks and copying from their friends before earning. And you will be surprised to know that some of our children are very, very good at copying from their friends. And that is why during this session we'll be condemning that and encouraging ourselves on ways through which we can avoid such practices. So after looking at the definition of academic excellence, like we said, it doesn't end only on grades. It involves what? Intellectual development. The child should be able to think critically, solve problems, apply what has been taught in class into their daily realities. If your child goes to class, for instance, and he or she has been taught a lesson on measurement, that child should be able to come back home and be able to measure maybe your table and give you the area of that table. If they have been taught a formula that looking for an area of a rectangle is length times width, for instance, in the house you should be able to use a ruler, measure the length and the width of your table and tell you that the area of this table measures these centimeters or these meters. That is what I mean by application of knowledge. So we move to the next slide, which is understanding how to nurture academic excellence. And I want to say that everything starts from the home. Everything starts from the home. If at home you don't make an environment that is conducive for the child to thrive, don't count on the teacher for your child to thrive. It starts from the home. How is the home environment? Where do you live? What type of activities do your children prioritize? As a parent, what activities do you prioritize by your own self? If you are a parent who prioritizes social activities and you ignore learning, then know that your children will also focus on what you prioritize and they will avoid learning. So it is important to first of all create a structure and a quiet learning space at home for children to learn. Depending on their ages, they need to have their reading table, their chairs, their cupboard where their books are packed, well arranged, a noise-free area, no distraction. Doctor has been having so many seminars on structures, values, and routines, and I'm still emphasizing on structure because structure will not only help your child thrive in school, but it will equally help the child to thrive in life. So when we create a structure and we keep a good learning space, it will help the children to be focused. And when children are focused, they can thrive both in school and in life. Apart from setting structures or creating structures and where the children can learn, when I talk of structure, in your structure you need to have a timetable that your children will follow. What time and what period of the day are they supposed to learn? When it is that period of the day, they are supposed to be on their reading table and not watching television. In essence, every period of the day should have an activity that the child has to be carrying out. Is it their time for sleep? Is it their time for work? Is it their time for watching their TV or working on their puzzles? All that needs to count. So your structure must be very, very, very strict. and you make sure you are consistent in monitoring this. Then next, you have to set realistic goals and expectations. I will always emphasize on the children's age. The age of the child will determine on the kind of goal you are setting for that child. If it is a child in the nursery school, for example, that child can write maybe a page or half a page. If you want to give that child an exercise, maybe writing a sound, a letter sound, you will not expect that child to write words. Depending on the school program, you have to align these goals that you are setting with the school programs. You must make yourself, verse yourself with the school programs before aligning goals with your children. When you set expectation, make sure you follow them. And when goals are set, they should have consequences. If this is not achieved by this time, what's next? They should be follow up. So that is one thing that you have to consider if you want your child to excel academically. You must set goals. As you set goals with them, you begin to model. You need to first of all be a model yourself, because you cannot ask the child to do something that you are not doing. For instance, if you ask your child to be getting up every day at 5 a.m., meanwhile you get up at 7, I don't think that will be possible. So when I talk of setting realistic goals, you have to model those goals as a parent. They have to follow you to achieve those goals. The next point you need to consider if you want to achieve academic excellence in your children is to develop discipline and accountability. When I talk about discipline, I'm not talking about flogging the child. Enforcing the right rules. When you set goals and expectations, make sure you enforce them. Don't just write the things and paste there and disappear. Enforce them. Be there to check if they are carrying out what has been set to do. Enforce. If it is not done, what measure do you apply? You must give consequences. And most of the times, you dialogue with them in order to come to a compromise on how all this will be carried out. Before you want to punish a child, maybe you want to deprive a child from watching their best series or playing their best game, you must have told them, if you don't do this, then you will not be able to watch this game. So we must be accountable as well. The next is to set a consistent study schedule. A study schedule is like a guide that will permit the child to always be on ground with their studies. When a study schedule is being set, the child knows that he has a task ahead of him. And I advise that when you are setting this schedule, always work in collaboration with teachers, because most of the times teachers will give homework and your schedule will go and coincide with what the teacher has planned, and you can begin to have tussles. So when you are setting your schedule with the children, it is good to always have a timetable from the school. If the class teacher cannot give you, the school authority, the head teacher can give you the timetable. From the timetable now, you will know that on this day, this child has this. Timetables exist even in the primary school. Although some teachers don't respect them because of the way activities are being handled in the primary school, but it is very important to always have that timetable in order to follow up what your children are doing. From there, you draw your schedule, you make sure you follow that schedule consistently, reminding your children at every step of the way. And then always make sure that whatever task you assign to a child goes in line with their age. You cannot give a child who is 10 years old a task that a 3 years old child should be doing. So every task must be age appropriate. Every responsibility should reflect the age of your child. Again, most of the times we frustrate our children. The little effort they carry out, we say it is not enough. But as a parent, you need to encourage the child's effort, celebrate the child's effort. Don't always wait for the child to have good result before you clap for them. If they attempt to do it, it is a good try. So you need to celebrate that. I'll share with you a story of one boy. That name again. Yeah, one boy in a class that I taught, that was in 2000 and 2029, 2019, pardon. In 2019, I taught a child, and this child was an orphan. Despite being an orphan, this child will come to school even with soaked dresses because they never had where to stay. When their father died, the family drove them out of the house. He was living in an uncompleted building with the mother. So how did I discover this child? I went to invigilate. By then he was in class 4, and I invigilated in that class. I got there, he was struggling to sleep and at the same time struggling to write his exams. At the same time, soaked with rain, writing and shivering and struggling with dizziness. And I couldn't understand. He was yawning. I asked, "What is the problem?" He told me he did not sleep in the night. And I asked him why. This child told me they sleep in an uncompleted building and the whole night it was raining on them. But since he had to write an exam, he could not take absent from school. This is a child whose resilience was announced at the assembly for other children to copy. Despite all what he was going through, he could still pull up and do something. And mind you, he was not the kind of child that would always look left and right to copy from friends. That is what really stood out for this child. Unlike other children, when you give a test, they want to look left, look right, copy from their books. He was not that type. So when I realized that I had to talk with the then head, to see into the child's problem. And then we had to come together and help this child, support him in the little way we could, for him to continue learning. We always encourage this child in every way we could, so that he will not give up. And these are the kind of children that will stand tomorrow and say they have seen or they have been resilient and they know what suffering and academic excellence is. Because that child, first of all, was not a slow learner, he was an average learner. Then, the kind of suffering he was going through will help him to be able to respect some kind of guy. When you tell this boy, Pedal, don't copy work, you will not see him turning left and right. But it is unfortunate that with our classrooms today, it is difficult to see children who can write on their own and make it without turning left and right, without copying, without cheating. And that is why we want to condemn. So we have seen all what it takes at the level of the home to nurture academic excellence as far as our children education is concerned. We are going to move to the next slide. How to encourage academic integrity. How do we then encourage academic integrity? What first of all is academic integrity? When a child is able to learn without being forcefully supported, without being cheated, pardon, that child is a child who is fighting for integrity. If your child can go to school, learn, come back without doing all this kind of flips, cheating here, cheating there, copying from friends, pilfering, then it means that you must have taught that child how to respect such boundaries. And it always starts at home. Children learn at different pace. If you compare your child with other children, then you might frustrate them to start doing what other children are doing, which might not be the good one. So the first thing we need to note if we want to encourage academic integrity is that we need to support our children without pressurizing them. Don't mount pressure on them. Allow them to study at their pace. In our houses, we have different children. They learn at different paces, just like in the classroom. If in your house you have 4 children, know that you are dealing with 4 different characters, 4 different entities, 4 different human beings. They don't act the same, they don't learn the same, they don't comport the same. It is the same in the classroom. So if you want your child to be an academic excellent child with integrity, you must support them without questioning them, without pressuring them, without judging them. That is point to note. Don't judge. Allow them to go on their pace and guide them where you see that they are failing or they are having weaknesses. You help guide them in that order. Hello? You are following.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, please. Go ahead, we can hear you. Your mic, please check your mic. We've lost sound. Please check your mic. Okay,
Can you
you're
hear me
back.
now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. We have lost sound again. Please check your mic. You're not, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
One thing that we parents fail to do is helping our children to learn. Most of the times we come back, were you giving homework? The child says yes. Have you done it? Yes. You don't take time to check the kind of homework that was given to see if you can assist the child in this homework. Many of our children face reading difficulties. In classrooms, it is a terrible situation. And that is why during examination, children are bound to cheat. Because one, we as parents fail to follow up. Some of us know our children cannot read, yet we don't report back to the teacher to say it is not going. So it is important to read together to promote literacy, especially in young learners. And then you encourage those ones that can already read on their own. So read short novels. They should use reading as their hobby instead of maybe taking other hobbies that will not really be helpful for them. At that early stage, you can start inculcating reading as a hobby for them so that they can build their vocabulary. What if the child is below the needed? I'll come back to that question later. So that they can enhance their vocabulary, they can be able to work at a pace when you follow them up. But now, if you allow every work just to the teacher, then let me assure you that the work will not be done to 100%. There is need for collaboration between you and your child's teacher if you really want your child to thrive academically. At the beginning of each academic year, it is advised that as a parent, you need to go around each class where your child is. Have a first contact with the teacher, exchange phone numbers with them, ask them to add you to their WhatsApp group, class WhatsApp group if there is any, for those in the urban centers. Those in the rural area where there is network, same thing. They should put you in their WhatsApp forums so that each time you follow up your child, don't leave the life of your child in the hands of a teacher. You are a partner and you have that right to chip in what you know as far as your child's education is concerned. Ask questions where you think something is lacking. Don't just sit, you have paid fees. Yes, the child is learning. Okay, he comes with it. How did this child have this? Question, sit and watch your child practice what has been taught in class. You see it is not going. Get back, give the child's teacher a call. Madam, sir, please, I have a difficulties following up my child at this level. And it is very important to first of all declare to the class teacher who your child is. Some of us parents, we make this error. At the beginning of academic year, we just buy and go and give. It is okay. Some of us go as far as proposing money to teacher, put my child in front. All what you want is your child should come among the first 5. You don't need to know what magic was created for your child to come among the first five. And I want to tell you that there are so many good teachers out there that will collect that money and give your child the free marks you want them to have. At the end of the day, you'll be the one to cry because your child will not reflect what is in that report card. What your child has in the head will not reflect what is in the report card. What your child has in the head will not reflect what is on the paper. What your child portrays out there will not reflect what you think is being written on the documents. So it is always important to monitor and ask questions. Encourage curiosity and critical thinking when the child comes back with work at home. Don't just say, what did people do in school? Have you done your homework? Don't end there. How can that child relate what was done to the real life situations? How can what the child learn solve a problem at home? How can that solve a problem in the community? I want to make you to understand something. Today's curriculum is not limited. Rather, the school is limited. Parents are limited. That is why I always advise that each parent should know the content of the curriculum that is being dished out to their children. We have curriculums and scheme of works in soft copies. It will cause you no harm to have a soft copy in your phone to follow up what is being studied in your child's class. You will see that many lessons today in school are more practical than even orals and copying of notes. Some parents celebrate teachers who go about filling the board with notes and the child, within 3 weeks, the child's 20 leaf or 40 leaf is already filled. Oh, that teacher teaches well. The child is always having notes. Do those children read the notes? I wish to ask you, dear parents, do your children read notes at home? Those of you who celebrate note copying, do those children read notes? Now, if you ask the children what was done on this subject, will the child be able to give you one after the other what was done in a way that the child understands? That is what you should ask. Schooling today is not about going to copy notes. It is about going to learn and apply. If your child is not learning and applying, then there is a problem. There is no integrity. The child should be able to do what he has been taught to do. It is not found in the books, it should be in the head. He should practice it. The education should be holistic. They should see it in the child's moral, the child's way of speaking, the child's way of behaving, not only on papers. Okay, be aware of curriculum requirements. What does the curriculum require the child or the school? What is supposed to be taught at this age? The nursery curriculum is different from the primary curriculum. Every week has a different lesson. Every day, every hour, different lessons for different subjects. You need to be familiar with all these realities. You need to know the requirements of the curriculum so that you don't go about questioning. Like a counselor made a post last time and I actually intervened in that her post. A textbook that had taught sex education to class. I think that was class 2 or class 3 learners. And she was curious about the notes, the quality of notes that the teacher gave the children. That the notes were so raw. And I can say it is because she was not versed with the curriculum. Because if she was versed with the curriculum, she would have noticed that the teacher made an error. Sorry, it's a mix up. She was versed with the curriculum, that's why she could dictate that error. And because the teacher just saw sex education and then she picked it and taught it the way she understood sex education, without minding the age of that child, it became a problem. Because how do you explain that you begin to teach maybe a 7 years old child sexual intercourse, the real act of sexual intercourse in note copying? That was the problem. And I think this counselor, this parent understood the content or the curriculum requirement. That is why she was able to dictate and raise an alarm. And that is exactly what each parent is supposed to be doing. You don't just sit and say, maybe that is what is happening there. No, you have a say. Why should my child be taught this at this time, at this age? Ask questions, and they should show you proof that we are teaching you this thing, your child this thing at this stage because, and these curriculums are being written by people like you and I, so they could be errors. And when we see that there are errors, we can still come together because these children are our children, the schools are our schools, the system is our system. We can come together and see what is best for the children. That said, we must be aware of the curriculum requirement. What does the curriculum ask us? Some of you parents, you like rushing your children. Your child is in class 3, you want your child to be skipped and sent to class 5. The child has been skipped and sent to class 5. You want that child to write the exam in class 5. It is not done. Calm down. There is a pace. There is a requirement to follow. Go through the requirement and you will see that there is no need rushing your child. That is why I said earlier that each child has a pace to follow as far as learning is concerned. And if you skip one stage of this learning, you have destroyed that child. It is until one stage is over that they open another chapter. And I will say that a lot of children are going through a lot today because we have fast forwarded them. We want to compare them to our neighbors' children. We want to compare them with other children that are in their classroom. We want to compare them with children of our friends and all of that. That is why we end up causing these children a lot of stress in learning. So if we don't judge them, if we support them without mounting pressure on them, without comparing them, by following them up one stage after the other, then learning will be very easy. And there is no child that is born dull. You should know that. They learn in different pace, but no dull child. They only learn at the pace at which their brains can carry them. That is why when a child finish a particular class, there are some that we fully understand what was taught, while others will still be struggling. You will bear with me that even you as parent, there are some concepts that it is only after that you left a particular level of education that you began understanding it. Meanwhile, you had already walked past that stage. But what made you to walk past that stage was because of maybe collective promotion, maybe influence from your parents that you must move to the next class, maybe examination malpractices that was being carried out around the school system. No, we must have 100%. We cannot allow this child to fail. Let us push this child to move ahead. You moved ahead without actually understanding what was there. And at the end of the day, you left that class without fully knowing what was meant for that class. All this happens. The next is to know the school policies and exams standards. This is where parents need to sit up on. A lot of parents don't even go to attend PTA meetings. You don't know what is happening around the school. They just tell you they have evaluated the children. At times, you don't see the script, but you see report cards. You are not bothered to know how the school policy operates. You don't know how many times they have an exams in the year. You don't know if they have a monthly evaluation. You don't know if they have weekly evaluations. You don't care. All you want is a report card, which is not very important. To me, just a continuous assessment, looking at what a child does every day is enough for me to tell if that child is learning or not learning. Some schools, because they don't want to spend money on printing papers to give children exams, they don't want to buy resources that will permit the children to have hands-on activities that will help them build their critical thinking skills. They just do anyhow around the school system and they give marks to children and you sit at home and clap. My child came out the first, my child had 18 average. Do you think to earn such averages is easy? No, it is not. In a system where the real examination standard is respected, for a child to have 15 average is not easy. So if you are that kind of a parent that exams excites you, and you are like, my child had 19 average, Try to know the curriculum requirement. If you know the curriculum requirement, you will be able to know if the exam standards was matching to the requirement of the curriculum. At times, there are teachers who put the curriculum aside. They said what they think they have taught. They said what they think the children know, ignoring what the curriculum demands. And then your child will pass and you'll be happy that your child has passed. Let me assure you that if that your child is taken to another school where the curriculum requirement and exam standard are respected, your child will not even be among the 50 of the class. Yes, I have taught in a school where the last child in the class went and was the first in another school. She came and was shouting and calling, Madam, I was the first in my class. I had 16 average. I said, how comes? This is a child who could barely read. The child was struggling to identify letters of the alphabet. Of course, she was first in a class in another school. A child who couldn't have 7 average in my own class. That is to tell you that it is important to know how a school operates. Who is the school proprietor? How knowledgeable? How is that person? How is the pedagogic knowledge of that person? How is that person concerned with education per se? Is it a business or a service that this person wants to render? You need to understand all this. Because if you don't, school is a business. That is what you should know. They will cash out. They pay teachers less, as the case of many private schools around, and then they give you the results you want. All you want is 100%. 100% can be bought. Yes, I have been invigilating public exams. I cannot count the number of parents that have walked up to me to give me an envelope so that I should put eyes on their child. I should show their child during exams, official exams, because they know that their children cannot perform. But my question is, what were you doing when this child was in the lower classes? Why didn't you follow up this child at home? Why didn't you encourage this child to learn so that by the time they get to that class, they will not struggle? You allow this struggling child to carry on with this struggle right up to the level where they are facing an exam, and you come to bribe the teacher. Unfortunately, if there is any parent here watching that knows me, then you will know that my policy, anywhere I work, if there is any examination malpractice, I will denounce it. People can take me anywhere. I will denounce it. I will denounce it. The hierarchy must hear. It does not happen. I have worked in Douala Troisième. An inspector walked to one examination center. She walked in and told me, relax with the children. If they don't understand this, try to show them. And my question to her was, Madam, what do you mean by showing them? Are you trying to say that we have come here to feed chickens on the day of the market? That was my question to her. She said, anyway, they are your pupils. I'm just trying to. I told her, no. You are an inspector and I don't expect this from you. And you as parents need to encourage integrity in the school system by denouncing all these practices. Unfortunately, you promote it. When as a parent you go to school the very first day of the school reopening and you start giving teachers money and telling them to take special care of your child, I don't see that as a good thing. I don't see that so. So you must promote integrity by speaking up. When it is not good, it is not good. It is not because everybody is doing the wrong thing that you will think that it is right. When it is bad, it is bad. And as a parent, even if you are the only one in that PTA meeting saying that this one is bad and others are condemning you, stand for what is right. It is not because others will acclaim the wrong thing that you will also follow. Don't follow the wrong. Now, recognize systems flaws and speak up. That is what I was speaking of. Identify those mistakes. During invigilation, don't go and be paying teachers to help your children. If your child reports at home that our teacher said we should show our friends, go closer to that teacher and tell the teacher, I don't want this to happen with my child. Don't teach my child what I am not teaching at home. You need to collaborate with the teacher. The teacher should know that you are someone who holds integrity in high esteem, and as such should also do same. You cannot be telling your child that cheating is bad, and then the teacher is telling your child that during exam, show your friend. It means that you are contradicting each other. So there is need for the two of you to understand and be in accord of what is right. And what is right is that cheating is bad. Whether that teacher likes it or not, you have to make that teacher understand that. If the teacher is practicing that, always make it a habit to attend school meetings and ask questions. When they send circulars at home, read them. If there is something you don't understand, go to school and ask. Call the head teacher, call the class teacher, talk with them. Because without this, we are building a society that will collapse within no time. We can be consoling ourselves with all of this, thinking that we are doing the right thing. But deep within us, we know that it is wrong. There is this story of a parent who bought the child's way to become a medical doctor.
Hmm.
Yes, this child was never a science inclined child, but because the money was there, the parent had to put money ahead. I want my child to study medicine. Bribe his way through. That is how the bribe and bribe and bribe, and this child became the medical doctor that the father wanted. Unfortunately, this child was one of the biggest doctors in one of the renowned hospitals in town. And when a critical situation occurred, the parent was rushed there. Who was supposed to attend to this parent? The child, who is the medical doctor, and the parent knows so well that he is not competent to handle that situation. So what happened? The parent was stuck and said, I need to be removed from this hospital immediately. But they said, why? Doctor is there. He said, no, this man cannot solve my problem. Because he knew that the child doesn't have what it takes. He knew that the child was not there through merit, but the child was there through what? It is same with us. When you bribe the child's way, you bribe the child through examination malpractices, the child passes first school, he's in the college, he cannot read, they push and push and push, and at the end of the day, the child goes out of school. He cannot even write a motivation letter to ask for a job. He cannot stand somewhere and succeed in an interview because you have been pushing and pushing and pushing. The real thing is after school. It is not within the school. In school, you will bribe and bribe and bribe and bribe. Shockingly, they will collect your money. But when it comes to real life, your child will suffer because the child will not be able to reflect what you have been paying for the child to have. Doc, please, can you go back to the next slide before you come to this last one? Yeah. So teach value and honesty and hard work. Always make your children to understand, and they should even learn it from your own example. If you're a parent who loves shortcuts, your children will also want to be doing shortcuts like yourself. Don't be a parent who loves shortcuts. Put in the time, put in the work. Let your children see you doing it. Let them see you having sleepless nights. Let them see you working hard to earn. So that by the time you tell them that I earned this thing, they will believe you. But if you are a person that any little thing you call and say, okay, I will just use this network and I have it, your child will be observing you. And trust me, in class there are children who bribe their friends to show them answers. And I think it's because they have been observing that from you parents. If you have been bribing to have favors, know that in class your child is also bribing to have answers to what they don't know. Yes, they bribe, they give sweets, they buy a mambo and share with their friends. Please show me during exams. But if you teach your child the value of honesty, the value of hard work, if you teach them integrity, they will not do all that. Even if a friend offers, the child will say, no, I prefer to solve this on my own and have the answer. God.
Okay, you're back.
Please, what's happening?
We can hear
Hello?
you. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So you must be able to preach what you practice what you preach. You don't just tell the children that, but make sure you practice it. They should see it from your own behavior. So academic integrity, first of all, starts at home. If the child doesn't see you modeling all this in your own actions, in your own activities, in your own day-to-day life, then the child will not be able to practice it in school, even if he or she is taught. You also need to discuss the real life consequences of cheating, like what I just explained concerning the story of the doctor. Look at the consequence. When the father became a patient and was brought to the child who was the doctor, he refused that the child should treat him because he knew that the consequences were devastating. So we need to model integrity in our own behavior. So how do we now hold the school accountable? I can't watch my slides. Hello, my God. Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, we can hear you. You can see your slides. You can see the slides.
Hold on, Doc. I'm coming. I can't see my slide. Let me log in again. I had an issue. Okay. So during PTA meetings, you need to speak up, raise concerns of unfair practices. If there is any child, that has reported to you, can you get me, please?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, about cheating in the classroom and the teacher being in accord with that, please report that teacher to the office. There is no school system that will write in its policy that cheating is permitted. No one. When it happens, they stay calm. But when the parent strikes, you see how everybody runs and goes behind and say, I did not know. I was not aware. So it is left for you as parents to hold integrity in high esteem and advocate it in schools. I'm challenging you to take this back to school, this 2025-2026 back to school, to practice integrity, not only at home, but advocate it in school. Bring it up as a topic in the PTA meeting. Make them understand that you are against examination malpractices. You are against any form of cheating. You will see how they will tremble. Tell them to follow the curriculum as it is to evaluate your children, because at the end of the day, that is what the state will be looking at. Now, some of you parents are so excited with positions that children have in class. My child was the first, my child was the second, my child had this. That no longer counts again. Today we are talking about competencies. What can your child do after learning? What can your child demonstrate? You should be able to go up to your child's teacher and say, after this 1 month of learning, my child is unable to demonstrate this. That is what we mean by you holding accountable, holding the system accountable. When you familiarize yourself with the curriculum, you will be able to better hold them accountable. But if you have nothing concern, you have no idea about the school curriculum, how will you be able to know whether they are doing the right thing or not? So it is very important as a parent to know the contents of the school curriculum and make sure that whatever is being taught in class aligns with what is stated in that curriculum. If your child is schooling in the southwest or in the northwest, know that at the end of the year, They write a common exam. It's kind of the end of the school scores. That's the first school living. The common entrance. They write the same exams. So there is need for you to compare and make sure that the content is the same. One should not be evaluating on what is not in the curriculum while others are following the right thing. And how do we advocate for transparency in assessment? You first of all need to make your children understand that when it comes to assessment, they need to write what they know, not what they copy from friends. They might even be copying the wrong thing. So they should be contented with what they have learned and they should write that. If it is a practical exercise, they should do it by themselves so that they can be proud of their own achievement. If a child is not contented with what they can do, that child will not be proud of himself because they'll always want to be copying from friends. And a life that is a copy and paste life is a life that is not sustainable. That child cannot go far with such attitude. So it is very important that you make your children practice doing things by themselves. Study on their own, write on their own, carry out their practice on their own. Be able to speak up. I have children in my class that used to challenge me. No, madam, you say like this, but why are you not doing what you said? Try to have such children. The child should not be scared of confronting the teacher in the right sense. It's not like trying to be arrogant or disrespectful. Just knowing their rights and speaking up for it. I admire such children a lot. So, in essence, what we have discussed here is about creating a strong foundation at home, first of all, because if we don't create a strong foundation at home, even in school, we will not be able to achieve the academic excellence. The child will not be able to thrive in life because academic excellence goes beyond the classroom. It goes beyond grades. It has to do with the child holistic being, the child's entire education, molding the head, molding the mind, and molding the thoughts. You need to
Thank
also
you
guide
so
with
much.
discipline and love. And finally, you need to be proactive. Don't wait until it happens. Prevent it before it happens. So I am going to be taking your questions now. I know you must have taken down so many questions, so I'll be answering them.
Thank you so much, Ma. Wow, it was such an insightful session. I think we've had a few questions come in. I'd just like us to buttress on a few things. There's some pertinent things that you said, which I'd like us to really lay emphasis on. One of the things that really struck me was the fact that you made a statement. You said that school is a business for some people, and we must not let the
Mhm.
school cash out on the moral integrity of our children. Yes, that for me, that particular point really hit home because there are so many schools that are it's just a business for them. They know the selling point of their school is 100%, so they will do anything, including sacrifice the moral integrity of the children just to ensure that they are getting the results that they want. So thank you so much for that. There's some things I picked up on the session that I also like to shed more light on. Now, there's some things that I think parents also unintentionally can encourage or push their children towards malpractice. All right, parents and teachers, both ways. Now, one of the reasons why I want us to focus on the parent as well is because the parent is the middleman. The parent is the one that brings every other thing together. All right, and if the parent, how the parent responds to failure is also very important and can be something that can encourage a child to towards cheating or towards malpractice. Now, when parents celebrate results without verifying process, it could teach a child that the
Mhm.
most important thing pass and not how I get the pass mark. So as much as we want to, that's why when you take a report card, just looking at, oh, you were first, yay, you were second, third, yay. The parent is excited at the position, but does not really give attention to maybe the child's hard work, what the child did. The child really deserve, what did the child do to get to this point? Looking at focusing on the process more than the result. Our children become desperate to want to keep up that result so that they can continue to get your praise.
Exactly. That's why you see some children who cannot read. Take their report cards, check the column
Hello,
for
ma.
English
Are you
language,
still here?
and you see the score.
I think we
A child
lost
who
her.
cannot read will score 18 on 20 in reading.
Okay. All right, she's back. So another thing that we need to also pay attention to. Can you hear me, ma?
I can hear you.
All right. And another thing you said was also the fact that parents need to intentionally teach integrity. I think that's so important. One of the things I do with my kids every time exams or tests are coming around is we have a conversation about cheating. Because sometimes kids will cheat. It could be because they're ignorant. They could allow a friend copy from them because they feel like they're being kind to their friend, not really understanding where those lines are. So sometimes parents don't realize that a child might imbibe a culture of cheating. It may start ignorantly. It may start just by trying to help their best friend, help their benchmate. Their benchmate says, "Please show me the answer now." Where I don't know the answer, and your child might not really understand that that is okay. The child says, "Copy, copy." So some kids may enter into this practice because they don't really understand that even my friend should not copy from me during an exam. Your volume, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, ma. Check your volume.
Hello.
Oh, okay, great. We can hear you. Go ahead.
I didn't get your question well because of.
No, it wasn't a question. I'm just bringing out the highlights from the session and bringing attention to certain things that I believe are very important from this session that the parents should, as a take-home message. So when we criticize failure harshly, we also cause children to be under pressure to do whatever it takes to avoid it. She said something. She said, allow your child to understand that an exam should be about writing what they know. You said that, all right?
Exactly.
Children should be allowed to write what they know because that's what exams should really be about. Because when a child is desperate to pass, the child will do whatever it takes to pass, including making cartoons, as they call it, writing down cheating. There are different ways of cheating. I saw on the news recently during public exams, I think at the probatoire level, how kids were putting pieces of paper inside bread. Some were putting it inside their underwear. Some would stitch it into their uniforms. Such desperation from children to to compromise that integrity that should come around an exam session. And where is all of this coming from? I think that parents are not innocent, but class teachers too are not also innocent in a sense, because one of the things I teach parents is the fact that you need to always assess the environment in which your child is learning, because a teacher that punishes failure, I know back in my primary school there were kids that were beaten every single day. If you there were 20 questions, you had 0 and 20, you had 20 strokes of the cane. Now, what that cane will do is that if the child does not still know the answer, I now become desperate. I want to do everything to avoid the strokes of the cane. So what will I do? I would try to cheat. So while we want to also look at parents, we also look at the environment in which the children are learning. All right. And I'm happy that the government has taken some steps to ensure that, this corporal punishment is taken out of the classroom, even though there are some schools that still don't respect it. But it also plays a part in helping, in forcing children to become desperate, to want to do whatever it takes to avoid that harsh consequence that comes with failure. I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
Exactly. The way some parents see their children fail. I have this learning. I thought in this child, he was like empty. He was a shadow of why? Because pressure was coming from home, pressure was coming from everybody has packed him a dull child. In fact, it was already in each class he entered, he must stay 2 years before moving to
Oh,
the next. So when this child was finally sent to my class, the parent came and told me, voilà votre élève. Ah, on a dit qu'il doit venir. Je sais que c'est au moins trois jours qu'il va faire là-bas. Il n'a rien. Il est comme ça. Il peut manger et jouer. Ah, I looked at this. The child was right before her before she was saying, "Oh." Then I asked her, how can you see has nothing in the head? She said, le voilà, non. J'ai demandé aux autres enseignants. Then I discovered that a premeditated pressure that had posed on the child. The child couldn't move on. He was already traumatized verbally. So I made to withdraw her step. I told her, you are very,
yeah.
since you have started condemning this child right before me, I will condemn you before the council. How can you start telling the child that it's empty in the head? Somebody that gets up in the morning, brushes his teeth, takes his bath, and comes to school. Is all that not already what I'm doing? She said, à son âge là. I asked her, how long do you stay with this child to see how he struggles with his study? Non, je ne suis pas souvent là. C'est que moi, je vends moi pas le temps. I said, okay. Is there anybody else who is there to supervise for these children who are at school? Ils sont déjà grands. Then I knew there was a, the children were abandoned. The child was neglected from the base. The parent didn't believe that the child could do something.
Mm-hmm.
And when I took this child on a diagnostic evaluation, I realized that even to learn the alphabet was difficult for it. I told the parent, wait, I will work with this child. If I work during this first term and there is no change, then I'll begin to tell specialists that can what is really wrong with your child. She said, she was a kind of nonchalant person. Don't care. So I took it upon myself. During this course, I put this child back in class. I had to cut a cardboard paper, write that signs on it, puzzles together. We struggled to learn the alphabet, combine words, combine letters to form words, words to sentences. Gradually, and this child started reading three-letter words, reading sentences, and so on. Before the term could go through, he could babble with sentences on the board.
So that's just proof that every child has the capacity to learn. They just need the right environment. And I think I want every parent here
They
to
need
remember
to
that,
be nurtured.
yeah, the fear of failure is often the fuel behind the temptation to cheat. The child who cheats is afraid to fail. That's it. So, and the opposite of the fear of failure is a love for learning. If children can learn or can be nurtured in an environment where they understand that an examination is where you write what you know, we are going to already be on the right path to raising children who are able to pursue academic excellence without compromising integrity. But also, you also talk about the fact that parents need to speak up. When your child comes back from school, maybe after having an exam, or even while preparing for exams, you ask the child, how are the exams? Don't end there. Did you see anybody? I always ask my kids, did you see anybody copying? Was anybody trying to copy from you? My child had an experience where his mate his benchmate copied from him, and he never realized that the child was copying. Only at the end, the teacher now realized that his answers were the same as my son's, because this child was a child who was always struggling in class, and that child happens to be our neighbor as well. So the teacher was angry with my son, thinking that my son was the one that showed me the answers. And he was also pissed, said no. He was very angry with the boy and saying, no, I did not ask him to copy. He was doing so without my knowledge. My mom has taught me that we don't copy. And he was so angry with this benchmate of his. But that day he learned a lesson that just because you do not participate in the cheating doesn't mean that the person beside you respects the boundary that you're setting. You have to also, sometimes you need to, you know how some kids will sit and turn to the side just to ensure that the neighbor you have who is trying to peek into your paper doesn't do so. So I told him, yes, you could be punished in a public exam for that. Even if you did not encourage him to copy, they will still believe that you were partnering together with this boy. So these are conversations that you need to have with your children. Did anything happen during the exams? Did you see anybody copying? And during that conversation, sometimes it might come up, the child might tell you the teacher was showing this person the answer. And like you said in your session, you can, when you hear something like that, don't be quiet. That's where you challenge the system for integrity. You meet the teacher, you call him out and no, I don't agree with this, don't help my child and stuff like that. But you also talked about the fact that parents who have the habit of always tipping teachers, giving money, help my child, look after my child, put eye for my picking, it might put the teacher under pressure to want to, sometimes even when they are marking, they might, be more complacent when they mark. They might just allow certain things to pass, and that does not help your child. This habit of giving teachers money, I don't know, trying to, it might be with good intent, but it might put the teacher under pressure to show you that your child is doing well under them.
And parents, there are parents who will tell you clearly that I don't want my child to go to this class. You must go to the
Yeah,
next.
exactly.
You
Yeah,
cannot be paying money for the same class for 2 years. You are already telling the teacher, let my child move to the next class. By
yeah,
all means.
yeah,
So you realize that the people promoting examination malpractices and the kind of promotion that is required for the system.
exactly. So speak up. Speak up when you hear that something is happening in the class. Teach your child actively at home about what integrity in exams looks like, what their part is. Create a supportive environment where when your child is failing, you don't just demand a pass result, but you also, mobilize the resources required to help your child thrive. Like she said, the child she had in her hands who was doing badly, repeating several classes over and over, the parent no longer believed that the child had anything in the head. But it just takes the right teacher, the right someone to believe in the child, for the child to now
That is
see their own potential and begin to work, grow towards it. So, how you respond to your child's failure, how you partner, what the message you give to the child's teacher, how you also, the kind of pressure you're putting on the teacher might be these things might fuel the habit of cheating in your child. All right. And if we don't speak up, the system will not be challenged to uphold that integrity. Let's take a few questions before. I think there are some questions, though not really related to the session. We're going to take them before we shut down. If you have any other question, you can drop it in the comments. I'm just going to put up. There's this one.
can my child repeat a course on my evaluation even though goes to another class? Of course, yes. I don't take who they've been. If you judge that your child is not class, please tell the teacher to make your child repeat. Because there
That's
is no
brilliant.
need sending the child to know that the child doesn't possess the necessary skills to do all the work in the next class.
Uh, there's something wrong with your mic. I don't know if it keeps it's not properly connected. If your voice keeps fading away at some point, so please just address that while I next question.
I had to remove it because the mic was really. Can you get me now?
Yes, we can very well.
So I
All
was
right.
telling Madam,
We can't hear you. We can't hear you, ma. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I was answering Madam Teko the ask her child to repeat. And I said, yes, it is her right as a parent to ask the child to repeat. If you have judged the child not competent to move to the next class.
Okay.
So what
There's
if
another
the
question
child
on the screen.
didn't need it? What do you mean by the child space being below the needed? When the child space is below average, allow the child to learn gradually. Don't pressure the child. Now what you can do is you can devise other methods to facilitate that child's learning process, like using visuals, using different graphics to help the child learn. Let me tell you one thing: we have different types of learning, and the curriculum today tries to overload learners in the different learning abilities. Meaning that if your child is not a learner that is writing, the child must be good with others. If the child is not good with others, the child should be good with energetic activities, practical activities. So all these three components are taken into consideration during evaluation. If your child is not good in math, the child will be good in all. And if the child is not good in all, the child will be good in. Your child cannot be below in all the different components.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at the end, we have what attitude does a child portray when a particular subject comes? We evaluate in that domain. It is true many schools evaluate children in different components. That is what the curriculum says. Evaluate the children auditory learners, evaluate those children visual learners, those who can actually writing, evaluate them using the different senses of thought. That is why you have to know what the curriculum demands. So your child
So I
cannot be
think
in all aspects, in all components. It's impossible.
yeah, so I think that this also goes. Thankfully, one of the things we're going to learn during this webinar is how to help a child who's struggling. All right, and we're going to look at learning styles and how parents can come in to help a child who is struggling, who is lagging behind, to pick up. I think there's another thing that we need to talk about here, which is the fact that that the parents need to lose this obsession over I don't know, I don't want to say academic excellence. I think we really need to redefine what academic excellence is. Many parents think that academic excellence is just all about having all A's or having 20 on 20 in all subjects. And again, when this is our sole focus, we truly overlook the most important part, which is the process. Now, there are parents who have their children permanently on extra lessons. And another thing that this can create is the fact that sometimes these extra lesson teachers become obsessed when they see that the child is not doing very well. The child is not maybe not a very smart learner, or according to what they are teaching, they start teaching the child, like you said, what they know they will test. There's a parent who asked me once about she has a child who struggles with learning, and I told her, don't pick the class teacher of the child's class to teach the child in extra lessons. Pick a different teacher. Why? Because sometimes when a child is struggling with their learning, a teacher who lacks integrity, unfortunately, might find themselves teaching the child what they know they will test. The child will pass what they have been taught to, to give in the exam. And you find yourself later on in life with a child in secondary school, for example, who is as though they have never been to school. And the parent is shocked. My child was always top 10. I don't know how come my child has gone from top 10 to maybe bottom 10, and you're wondering what's happening. I have so many parents like this coming to me. My child was doing so well, and then now the child is struggling. I'm like, but so as a parent, you must be able to, when you see the results that your child brings home, like you said in your session, Don't just look at the report card. Look at the child in front of you as well. This child had 20 on 20 in English, but this is a child that cannot read, a simple, maybe the list that I make to go to the market. The child cannot read, simple labels of things, but your child is having 20 in English. You must see that there is a mismatch. And if you don't ask those questions, you'll find yourself with a child later on that is already addicted to getting those kinds of results, that they become desperate to doing what they need to do to maintain those results, which includes cheating. We can't hear you, ma.
Exactly. That is the because there are situations where I was related in a class. I was reading a dictation passage. Can you imagine that when I read the next line the children read? That is to tell you that they have already learned what I was trying to give them as an exam.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So I was thinking, and I was like, have you done this before? They said, yes, madam, our teacher already did this with us. But I asked myself, what am I coming to do? If you already had the exam. So those are the things that on a daily basis. And as doctor was saying, if you are getting a teacher for your child, don't get the same teacher that is teaching that child and
Yeah.
get
That's true.
someone. And when there
That's
are
true.
results, when it's week for evaluation, put your eyes on what the student is writing. And when the exam
Yeah.
comes, compare to see if it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Because some teachers actually revise what they give in exams.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I said that examination is not a true test of knowledge. And you
Exactly.
find yourself, you see parents who are obsessed. Oh, my child was first, my child has all the prizes, but your child lacks content. Your child lacks content. How the kids were in from one who can't read and write, how did they pass through? That's the question. If you're a parent and you have a child in from one, from two who cannot read and write, who struggles with reading? Let's not say writing. Who struggles with reading? Ask yourself, how did my child pass the common entrance? Who read the exam questions for the child? You realize that most of
Exactly.
these things are the script that the kids are just pouring out because they are not really testing knowledge. And if we don't do this, we are going to raise kids who cannot compete with the world. We're going to raise kids who cannot compete. They lack content because all they have is just, surface value. All
The
right. So
honest
thank
truth,
you so much, ma.
yes. The first school and common entrance exam we have today, if you go to the college, you see that most secondary schools, 50% of the learners cannot read. These are
Wow.
children who have passed through the primary school for 6 years, yet they move to the next level and they cannot read. My question doesn't come from the level of the school that invigilated the exams. Even those marks, how could they afford marks to things that they know?
Yeah.
Because there is a
Exactly.
problem at every level. The children cannot read. Some invigilators can be very. But now when they go to marking, how do you give marks to children who are low in performance and you score 100%? So as parents, realize that the things that you need to put up for. This last session of the common entrance, I had to work as a chief invigilator in one hall with a teacher. The first error they made was sending a class 6 teacher to come and invigilate exam. It is not done. A teacher who has taught the child should not invigilate that child.
Exactly.
It is wrong.
Exactly.
Teach and
Exactly.
leave for another person to invigilate and give you the result. They sent class 6 teachers to invigilate. When they got to the hall, they were writing answers on the board for children to. Some were reading answers for children to write. I had to raise an alarm. That lady told me, you have just been transferred. This is how it is done. This is Africa. I said, Madam, I'm not born out of country. What do you mean by we are? You are not supposed to show children doing our exams. You had 9 million to teach children. If you could not teach them during 9 months, it is not today you are supposed to teach them.
Exactly.
And the
Exactly.
whole is within the school. You
Yeah.
coming to teach, you coming to teach the same formula, the same things that other teachers use. I told her, please stop.
One of the things have been emphasizing with the parents when it comes to choosing schools is to look at the system, the policies of the school. One of the policies I admire so much in the school my kids attend is the fact that during exam, even if it's a sequence, a test, all right, the class teacher is switched to another class. You don't invigilate your class even during a simple test. And the class teacher comes in because the class teacher doesn't know the students, can't favor anybody because they don't know anybody in that class. So they usually switch them. They can take nursery to supervise class six supervise, they just switch them around. And that helps children to practice the conditions under which an examination should occur. And it really helps them
Exactly.
learn, yeah, how to practice being fair during an exam. We have a question on the screen. I think that will be the last question before we shut down.
Um, no, madam, you cannot allow your child to repeat because of regression. This is why. At times, the first test, some teachers usually give some things that are very easy for the children to write, or something that the child masters better, and the child can score very high in such situations. And as
Yeah,
learning continues, the tasks
yeah,
become more difficult.
yeah.
Therefore, testing your child's real knowledge. So if your child drops from 17 average to 13, it doesn't mean that you make that child to be. It means that the
Yeah,
child is balancing on the real pace the child should be.
exactly.
So I think you should allow the child next to the next class. There's no problem with your child.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think you can also check maybe the learning condition. Sometimes it could be the teacher's teaching style might not be adapted to the child's learning needs. There might be some struggles there that you need to address, some things that you could adjust to help your child pick up. So the child has gone ahead to the next level, and some of the foundational stuffs are okay. You can let the child go, but also pay attention to what you need to address, that can help the child pick up. Repeating might not be the only solution.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much, dear parents. I think that we have answered all the questions that we asked. And I think
A
that
little
the
tip before the parents go off.
pardon?
A little tip.
Okay, Ma, go ahead.
Yes, those parents with their children in the classroom. When you meet with your level one, tell them you have just two worries with your child. Reading, solving mathematics problems. Your child in class 1 and 2 should be able to master the 4 rules in mathematics to their fingertips and be able to read. Don't let your child move to class 4 when your child cannot read it, so that you have
I'm
destroyed
telling
them.
you. Oh yeah.
So if you are still having children at the level of class 1 and 2, hold their teachers and tell them your task is reading and the following. They should forget about any other thing and focus on those things. Because
Yeah.
a child cannot do any other thing in school.
Yeah, reading is the
Thank you.
basic skill required for almost every other subject. All right, Ma, thank you so much for the insight. We deeply appreciate your perspective, particularly as an administrator and as an educator. There's something that you didn't give us. You didn't give us stats. You didn't give us any statistics for malpractice in our setting. We're interested to know, right? What are the stats during the
Woo!
exam public examinations in our setting? What are the stats?
What you need to understand, examination malpractice is very high. I can say it's 50%. That is why in every secondary school, even at the level of Form 5, we still have students who cannot read.
Yeah. Wow.
And it is evident that it is due to examination malpractice that are moving to the next classes. So be rest assured that this is a fight that we need to come together and advocate. If not, we are bringing the concerning.
We cannot hear you. We can't hear you, ma. We can't hear you, ma.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I was saying that We need to come together, parents, advocate for integrity in the school system, so
Yes.
that examination malpractices can be curbed. It is at a very high, how do I put it? It's at a high level now. That is why even in some schools, you see children who cannot read. And parents are not bothered. That is the first worry. Parents are not bothered. That is why it keeps on repeating itself. I think if parents step in, then things can be ameliorated.
Yeah, I think, see, dear parents, learn to assess what the report card. When you take your child's report card, do not look at the class position. Absolutely do not. I'm one of those people who is an advocate for the schools to change their how they call it, their how they present the report card, because this obsession with class position causes parents to miss out on what is more important: the progress of the child. You have a child who is having A everywhere, and the child in class 5 and cannot read. And the parent is like, whoa, my child is the best. My child is. And you take that class 5 child who is top in the class and say, read this passage, read this book, and the child cannot read. That's a problem.
Unable.
That is a problem. So it means if your child, if the excellence you see on the report card must be reflected in the child you have in front of you. What is the intellectual capacity of that child? Can that child hold a conversation? When that child is trying to do basic things at home, you can be able to, can you match what the report card is saying with the child you have in front of you? That could help you start asking the right questions and looking in the right places to see if the process has been compromised. Process is more important than end result. We cannot raise a generation of children who understand the value of integrity if we only place emphasis on results and overlook process. The process is more important. It's not just about winning, but it's more importantly about how, what you did to win. Let's learn to praise hard work and not just top of the class. All right. When your child top of the class,
Yeah.
praise the hard work. Say, wow, I saw you working hard. Wow, you're a hard worker. I love you dedicated to this. This result came because let your child know that what you appreciate is the hard work and not just the class position. My kids in my home, we don't talk about class position. We do not talk about class position. It doesn't matter whether you are going to last. We don't discuss class position. We discuss progress. In my home, we discuss progress. Wow, you finally went from this to this in maths. My kids, they know how to assess their performance. There's no pressure for you were first, you were third, you were six and now you're eight. No, we look at how come you went from 18 in math to 16. Why are you struggling? That helps children know the process is more important than just topping the class. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Ma. I don't know if you have any parting words for us. We are about to shut down.
I appreciate all the parents who come out to this session. I want to encourage, take it upon yourself. Go closer to your sister, collaborate with them. See them like brothers and sisters that you are cooperating with. Have a heart of heart with them so that they can help you guide your child the way you want in your absence. It is very important.
All
And
right.
also
Thank you
make
so
sure
much.
you are present in your child's life.
Yeah.
Don't be an
Parental
expectation. Thank you.
great. Thank you so much, Ma, for adding so much value to the session tonight. Dear parents,
Thank
this is our last live lesson for the week. We are going to continue tomorrow on the platform with our lessons, and we are going to continue to talk about different aspects of accompanying your child profitably this academic year. Next week, we pick up with our first live lesson of the week on Tuesday. We will be receiving our second guest speaker, Dr. Nzo Judwin. She'll be coming on, a pediatrician, to give us the connection between health and learning. She'll drill us on the importance of, what you need to know to match health with learning. So don't miss it. Next week is going to be hotter even than this week has been. We're going to have two guest speakers coming on next week as we wrap up the back to school webinar. Thank you so much. You can still invite someone to join us. There's a lot for us parents. we need to be much more than we are here. We need so many more parents to be hearing and learning about these things. We cannot change the system if we are just a handful. So there's someone in your circle, even your child's class teacher. Why not? Let educators come on board, school owners, invite them to be a part of this conversation, because what we are learning here is not just for parents, but also for those who are running these schools. So please, let's take this responsibility to go out there, invite someone else to join this back to school webinar, and let's truly begin to um, um, make a change in the system. Thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow morning in class. Bye.